They are a pretty essential part of our sentences. We might not use them a lot yet, but we are going to use them, and they're going to help make our sentences really great. So when we think about commas, they are the little hook-like things that go on the line here. Here it says commas are used, and I have a comma at the very end of it here after all those periods, and it's right on the line, and it looks like a backwards C, if you will, okay, or a hook. Can you think of any reasons why commas are used? Well, there are two reasons in here that I would have for why commas are used. First of which is to separate items in a list. And so over here, I've got a couple examples. So I went to the park, grocery store, and school. This comma lets me know that one place I went was the park, a second place I went was the grocery store, and the third place I went was the school. Okay, and the commas are here to separate these different items. They go right at the very end of the word to keep it together. Next, it says, I invited Nolan, Jace, Sonia, and Kira to play at the park. So here I've got, these are the people. I've got Nolan, I've got Jace, I got Sonia, and I've got Kira. Kira, after the last one, I don't need that because it continues on because I need to know what they do. This is my list of people, okay? People who are on that list, if you think about this. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I've got my last part, to play at the park. Again, usually you'll often find this comma definitely before the and. After the and, you won't have to put one. Okay, so you're not gonna, this one here, once you have the and, you know it's gonna continue the remainder of the sentence. But here, this is my list of things, just like it was in the first one. So I can use those commas for our list. So I know that I need them whenever I list something, okay? Our second idea as to why we need commas is to separate ideas or clauses divided by an and, but, or yet. I'm going to give you an example here. So this is often when we talk about these run-on types of sentences, okay, when two things are separate. I went to the store, I got some milk. Now these are two different sentences, and maybe I want to combine them. They're separate. I went to the store, I got some milk, right? Yes, you got the milk at the store, but they are two separate complete sentences. So instead, I might have here, I went to the store and got some milk. Here, I just ended up putting a comma here, and I got rid of I because I know that it's still me who's doing it. And then I put the word and in and got some milk. And here I make a little bit more of a complex sentence. It helps make it more of a medium-sized sentence, okay? Again, this idea here is that I can go and make it so I have the, instead of having some two short sentences, I might want to use it in order to get something a little bit longer. Here, my soccer game was at 1 o'clock and I was late. Okay, they could be two separate sentences, but I've got the comma and the and here. This part, I know this part right here at the end is a whole separate part from this part in the beginning, but they are connected by this and. I was late. It doesn't always work to use the and there. So you want to make sure that when you're combining two things, that they are things that make sense together. My final one that I have here for you is this idea. It says I wanted to eat tacos, but we had pasta instead. Where do you think the comma needs to go? Just like before, when you heard on your song here that there's the comma and I have this part here, right here. So it's here, we got tacos, and this part about pastas, we had pasta instead, is the second part, second idea. I wanted to eat tacos, but we had pasta instead. The but, and again, with the comma and the but here, ends up being the part where I have this where my second part is connected to my first. They're making for one full sentence, okay? Notice in here that one of the things that's really, really important with this, as I think about it, as I move this down a little bit, is that number two is usually when we find run-on sentences, okay? So this is where you got to be really, really careful, because if I wanted to eat tacos, but we had pasta instead, and it was, if I start adding another and a but and a then, as I get into having two ands or another but in here, that these things here make for a longer sentence. So usually only use one and or one but. That's usually, I would say, the way that goes, okay? So you're usually going to have just one and or one but. If once you get to your second and, you know you've gone too far, okay? So let's do a little bit of practice. What we need to do is, when we're reading our sentence, be thinking about, do I need a comma? And if I do, is it because it's a list or is it separating ideas? So let's think about this first one. I played football with Ryan, Ella, Connor, and Jess. So if without the commas, it sounds like this is Ryan Ella Connor, right? All as one person. It's like his middle name is Ella and his last name is Connor. And which would be fine if that was the person's name. But in this case, I think that the person's probably making a list. So here, I need to make sure that I put a comma after Ryan, comma after Ella, comma after Connor, and then I have and Jess. Okay. Let's look at our second one here. What type of sentence do you think this is? Is it to separate in a list, or is it to separate ideas or clauses that are divided by an and or a but? I played in the snow, built a snowman, and went sledding. Well, it looks like I've got different ideas, building a snowman, going sledding, playing in the snow, but it looks like it's saying that these are the things that I did, which would be a list of things that I did here. So here I want to, it's separate, or it's the separating the items on a list. I played in the snow is the first one. Built a snowman is the second one. And then I went sledding. Okay. Let's look at our next one. Where does the comma need to go? I went for a run and then played soccer. Looks like I've got two parts, right? I've got to separate my ideas here. I went for a run. Okay. Then played soccer, right? It's not part of running. Here, I need to have it before the and I have to have that. If I didn't have the and, I would want to put that here. Make sure it's a comma and then played soccer. Okay. Let's go to our next one here. Let's see what we got. Next one. Seattle is a big city. It is in Washington. Ooh, what do you think needs to happen here? What has to happen in this sentence? Well, I've got two parts. It's a big city. And I've got that. It is in Washington. I don't have an and there, so I might need to add that. So, comma, and it is in Washington. So here, if I were to go fix this and add this in here, I put my and in here. Seattle is a big city, and it is in Washington. Would make sense as a sentence. Got my two different parts separated with a comma and. Last one for today. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson. He plays quarterback. Those are two perfectly fine sentences. What do you think needs to happen in order to use a comma and maybe combining them? Yep, you guessed it. So here I've got this part. I've got he, and I think it's I could probably go who plays quarterback, or I could get rid of the comma here and go and he plays quarterback. Okay. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson and he plays quarterback. And again, make sure that this is a lowercase because it's all one sentence. Okay. Today's work is going to be all about commas and making sure that you fix up some sentences to make sure that they have commas, or combining some sentences where they have two separate ideas that need to be combined together. Maybe they're already two separate ones, or maybe they're already there, but they lack the comma. So make sure that you work on that today.